So, except for Larry, for those of you of legal age to drink, our official drinking where we're gonna get that from our guest today, which it's a pleasure to introduce David Gooday and Simon Granger with Nadia there as well, from Nitzer Ebb Produkt and as well as Stark. So welcome, guys. And as you know, we have a drinking word that we usually have for each of our drinking chats, and you guys get to select the word of the day.
We're going to go with alarm. Alarm is word.
Larry, hang on a minute.
Yeah, hold up, Larry.
A drinking word that we usually have for each of our drinking chats, and you guys.
Oh, I can hear you. The echo of the feed.
Yeah, that was.
Yep. I got it. I'm on it. Yeah. Relax.
Oh, thank you.
And so, yes, we have our lovely co-host, Atusa, and then Mike is our official muter, Mike in Seattle. So when you are not speaking, right now it's okay to be unmuted, but if you're
feeding back.
Yeah, if you have background audio going on, like if you have the stream from Facebook or anything like that, then you need to mute yourself or any background music. So as David just mentioned, our drinking word of the day is alarm.
Alarm.
So my first drink of the day today.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
I thought we were bringing back Abhead.
No. Each guest gets their own special drinking word. So I think the most interesting one, what was the word that Brian Griffin suggested?
Yeah,
I can't even think what it was. But
it was months ago, dude.
Yeah, it was some.
Yeah.
It was in August. Yeah. So, but it was some very interesting word. But.
What was Gareth Jones?
Love.
Yeah,
love.
Yeah.
That's why we were all wasted. I love you, man.
So, how often is alarm going to come up today? We'll see.
Ooh.
Well, that's the thing. We'll see if we can talk about it more than we do normally.
And I just did mention it, so that's a drink right there.
Yep.
Oh.
Alarm.
Wow, you guys are getting started early.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to blame it on European time.
Yes. Especially Simon and Nadia.
A little day drinking for us.
I'm still drinking coffee, so if I have my shirt pulled over my head and I'm doing this in a couple minutes, you know why?
Larry.
Yeah. Were you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, Mike. Yeah, I'm drinking coffee too, but I've got a shot of Jaeger in here and a shot of amaretto.
Nice.
That's the way you do it.
I've got a little Irish in mine. Yeah.
Joey, that's the way you drink coffee in the morning.
Yep. Plus, I'm drinking it in. Let's see. Mike. Drinking it in a Star Wars cup.
Oh, very nice.
So the best of both worlds.
So Larry,
I'm gonna hand it over to Atusa to start us off with a little introduction.
Okay, and you guys feel free, as you guys are all muted, feel free to use the chat to talk to each other or talk as a group. If you have any questions, you can direct them to me, Rob, or Mike privately, and we'll try to get to you as soon as we can.
Actually, one thing before you do, I will post in the chat how to raise your virtual hand. And also, when you aren't speaking, do go ahead now and start muting yourselves, because we are getting feedback, and if you aren't, we will mute you. Also, to start off, we're not going to have any limitations. You can ask more than one question. If the queue gets very long, then we will limit it to one question a person. But as of now, we're not having any limitations. So, just a heads up. And don't be shy to ask questions when we are at that portion.
I'll wait till David's back.
Sorry, sorting out other people in the room who are trying to listen to things. Getting tangled up in 1,000 cables.
Ready to go?
Yeah, cool.
Okay, hi everybody. This is really exciting. Hi. Hi everybody. So today we've got David and Simon, who were there from the beginnings of Nitzer Ebb. So I thought it would be fun to hear what things were like back in the early 80s, how it all started. and how their roles changed over the years as they moved into coming back and touring with Nitzer Ebb in 2018 and 2019, which I'm sure a lot of you got to see, which was amazing. And how David and Simon formed Stark, a new musical project that I'd like them to talk about in a little bit. But would like to start off with the early days. David, Simon, would love to hear a little bit about what it was like being young in the early 80s and how you guys met and how Nitzer Ebb began.
I think I'll let Simon begin that one. He's got a good story for that one.
Okay. Firstly, I can't even remember being young. Pretty sure I was at some point. And how it initially started for me was in Chelmsford. As you know, we came from a small town. So our town was literally a few shops, a few pubs. There wasn't many places to go. And we were lucky that we had some good independent record shops. So anyone who was kind of into music would go to these shops. And so on a Saturday afternoon, literally every week, I'd be at Parrot Records in Chelmsford or one of the other nearby shops, usually Parrot Records. And that was where you could go and get decent underground music. So I'd be in there and just looking through records. And then one Saturday I was in there and I heard all this kind of shouting outside. And it was Bon and Douglas and David, who were drunk and were shouting abuse at me as I was looking for some records. And I kind of came out of the shop and shouted back. And this literally carried on probably every Saturday for, I don't know, about 2 or 3 months. We'd just walk past each other or see each other in the street and they'd shout at me and I'd shout back at them. And it wasn't until I talked to a friend of mine, Chris Piper, who turned out to be our first manager, that he was actually going out with Bon's sister. And he said, oh, yeah, that chap Bon, he wants to be in a band. He's into kind of music and stuff, the electronics. And I said, all right. And because I mentioned, well, Chris knew I had a Wasp synthesizer. So what that did, that started the kind of ball rolling, if you like, because Bon wanted to buy a synthesizer cheaply. So I sold him my Wasp. And then as Bon mentioned, when he did his drink and chat, he was kind of disappointed that the Wasp didn't have a sequencer with it. So the whole idea of the Wasp was to try and make it do I Feel Love. But we could never do it because we just had the synthesizer with nothing else. So then if I hand over to David now, he's got a good story about, and again, which Bon alluded to, that they had to literally save up for the next part of the puzzle, if you like, because we never had a synthesizer or anything like that. Well, we never had a sequencer to go with anything. And that's when I got involved, partly through obviously selling my synthesizer to Bon. But at the same time, when Chris mentioned to me that they were influenced by DAF, I thought, right, I actually want to be involved in this band right from the start. And so I just said, any artwork that you need or anything to do with art, I'm going to do it. And that's how it started. And then David kind of took over, if you like. David and Bon and Douglas were kind of saving up for bits of gear, and then they got the better bits of equipment. So
it depends how far back you want to go. I mean, originally, first band, there was no Douglas, so that was a bit of a strange one. But Nitzer Ebb itself, obviously, is the three of us originally. I suppose it was a matter of finally ended up buying an SH-101. Bon and Doug saved enough money. Doug's father paid for it as a bit of a bet. If they did save, he would pay for it. So he did. And then they came to me and said, you have more money than us, buy drums. So it kind of ended up, what happened, I bought a couple of drums, couldn't drum for a carrot, to be truthful. So the stand-up drumming began, you know, turn a floor tom into a kick drum and a snare drum into something else. And kind of away we went. We, started to try and write songs without a clue what we were doing. All we knew is we wanted to make music.
What was the first song you guys made that you thought, this is it, this sounds great, and you kind of took off from there?
Do you know what? I don't know, because we wrote so many to start with. A lot of them ended up on Basic Pain Procedure. And then those songs didn't end up on that Total Age, so it's a really strange thing. We did a demo, Basic Pain Procedure, which got released I think a couple of years ago. Pylon Records released it. Very strange when you listen back to it. It's so rough and ready, recording on a 4-track cassette tape machine in someone's living room. You know, it's early days. That's all we had our hands to get near. We did what we could do with the best we had.
How long did it take for you to really get going with those drums?
Not very long, because the 4/4 is pretty damn simple. You know, if you can bang 4/4, you can bang anything. It's an obvious way forward. If you want people to dance, do 4/4. You know, it kind of works.
If it's a good time, Rob, I think it would be really fun to play that very early rare video of the boys, and you can see David beating on that one. I think it's a snare drum. Yeah, could we play that?
He speaks on everything.
Oh, I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, okay, here we go. Very cool.
Wow.
Very cool.
Unbelievable.
Also, after we play any videos and later on we'll have some live performances, you can feel free to unmute yourselves to make a little bit of noise and applause and all that
yeah.
stuff. And then Mike will mute you all right back.
So tell us a
Alright.
bit about that video.
What can we say about that video? That video was done in someone's barn on a farm. I think it did say on there 83, 84. Not really sure. Probably about then. Yeah, you kind of knew you had to get out there and do a video. I think it was still a new concept at the time. Can't remember who filmed it. Can you, Si?
Chris did it.
Did he? Yeah, it's in a very early. Yeah, I think Chris did do it. I mean, another one of those things. We were quite up on what we needed to do. We kind of knew where we needed to go. Didn't have a clue how to do it, so we were winging it all the time. But yeah, that's a really, really early song. One of my favourite songs by the band, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm just thinking that it is a classic. I mean, that, as you probably all know, that came out on the B-side of Ghetto when we released it. So we had a love side and a hate side, and that was the love side. And it kind of got lost, really, because everybody went for the harder Nitzer Ebb down. But I've always loved that track. It's brilliant. And as soon as Bond did it, I mean, I remember him writing the bass line, and he was kind of laughing about it, saying it's really like a happy sort of track. And we're like, no, we should have it. You know what I mean? It's great.
I like Doug's vocal. Always loved Doug's vocal when he did that, and always thought he should do more of that kind of thing. But yeah, it went on.
It's like a really good early Nitzer Ebb track with Doug properly singing. It's lovely.
Yeah, he can sing sometimes.
Yeah.
We're going to open up to a little tiny portion of Q&A right now. So if you've got any questions, feel free to raise your hand or tell us in the chat that you'd like to ask a question, and we'll get to you in order. So let me try to get you in order. Larry, go ahead and ask your question.
All right, so I'm gonna start off real basic because I just woke up. So there was great song, by the way. There was this boy in the music video. Was it a boy or a girl in the video?
That was a girl. She actually worked. I was doing some shopping one day in our local shop called Tesco's, which is like just a general grocery store. And I think this was like the week before we did the video, or even less than that. And she was actually working on a checkout in Tesco. She was a cashier. And as I was paying for my food, I said, I hope you don't mind me asking, but do you want to be in a video? And she goes, yeah, all right. Just like straight away like that. No like sort of discussion or anything. And so she went back and told her parents and everything. And then literally, I think it was, a week later. Yeah. And she ended up going out with a friend of ours, didn't she, Dave, for a long time?
I think she did. Who did she go out with? I can't remember.
One of that scooter lot, one of the scooter boys.
Just seeing her face was, that brings back a lot of memories, and seeing how young we were. I can't remember being that young, as you said. It was so bloody old now. I can't remember that time of my life, but yeah.
Yes, she agreed to do the photos and the video and everything, yeah.
That was just a completely random person that you saw.
Yeah, I never spoke to her before in my life. But I just thought, she was good. She had like this really short hair, and no one at that time was really looking like that, so she just had this good look. So we just thought she'd be good in the video. And
I mean, thing that I suppose in a way we were always thinking about image, and she looked the part, so give her a go. Do you fancy a go? Have a go. That was kind of the ethos of a lot of things we did. If we found somebody that we liked or that seemed to suit or would fit in, then we would ask them, give everybody a go.
David, were you alarmed when you saw her? Oh, sorry, excuse me, quickly.
Was I alarmed? Got to say no, to be fair. Got to say no.
Just to get a drink in, mate. Just to get a drink.
Just trying to get the alarm in there.
Yeah, get the alarm in. Well, I'll drink anyway, so it doesn't matter.
That's me.
A good use of alarm there.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for your question, Larry. Moving on to the next question from Matt. Matt Smith, Matt Avalon.
Hello.
Hello.
Matt.
That last track that was played, what was it the bass line actually done on? Was it the one?
SH101.
Was
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Everything was this. Everything originally. We had this. I think it was an interview or a conversation with someone a couple of months ago, and they didn't realise that the whole first album was written on 2 SH101s. I mean, once you get in a studio situation, obviously things can get changed up. And with the inevitable Phil Harding, he did add DX7s and several other little niches and great things that were around in the studio at the time. Different reverbs and effects. And we had the honor of using PWL and an SSL desk. So it opens up the sound to be something else, you know. At the time, we didn't want that. We wanted it to be really simple and straight and strained. Didn't quite work out that way.
No, we had the MS-10 as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did have an MS-10. Yeah, we did. Didn't really come in because we didn't have a sequencer.
Yeah. But I think we used the MS-10 in the studio on potentially on So Bright So Strong. We used it on a few tracks, but that was mainly one-on-one. Yeah.
Age, mate, can't remember.
Because I had an SH09 and it was a nightmare. Because I was only about 10. I was lucky to get it, but you know, I just that's how I learned a lot from that because
they were great to play keys if you could just play the thing, but to sequence it or to run anything out of it just went out of time so much. Run really bad sound. Early circuitries, early analog synthesizers, the way they worked, you know, they had that sound.
Get a bit too hot. Yeah,
you get very hot.
And when John bought the SH101, when he first used it, the voltage kept changing when it was on the mains. So every show he did, there was one show the Nitzer Ebb did, a very early one, and the pitch was changing on the 101 because of the voltage, because it was on the mains. So after that, he refused to use the mains on the 101. So that meant buying batteries every time.
Cost you a fortune in batteries.
Yeah, Bond didn't have a job, so I used to have to buy batteries for him. And it took like these 3 big Duracells, didn't it? The really big cylindrical.
Yeah, what were they called? Were they all single A? I don't know. They were the big things.
They were the really big round ones. They were massive. It took 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, and one set a show.
About this sort of big, you know, like, and my floor of my apartment was actually mold batteries a lot of the time because he'd only use them once. He wouldn't trust them again, so I'd have to buy a new set of these Duracell batteries. No, he bought Duracell as well.
Yeah,
well,
I think C batteries. I think C.
Sorry,
I think they were called C batteries, like
C batteries. Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, C batteries.
Yeah,
I think they could have been. Yeah, I just remember there was a lot of them, and there was a carrier bag full of batteries that were perfectly good, but he was never going to use them again, just in case they went wrong. You know.
Yeah, but they cost quite a lot of money and they weighed a lot. So
all right. Thank you, Matt. Next question is from Foodhead.
Hey, Foodhead.
Where's he? Can't see him.
I don't think he's got a camera. I think he's just got his face. Oh, he's unmuted.
I have the question here if you guys want me to read it.
But he's unmuted, so he should be saying something. Oh, he's remuted. Oh, no, it's changing. I'm jumping around. He's still unmuted.
There's no mic, so that's the problem.
Okay.
So I'll read the question for Foodhead. It says, nice to see you all again.
Nice to see you,
I know there's a bit of challenges with the old songs regarding legal issues. Is there any chance in the near future they could be rearranged by some other band, say Stark, for example?
Could they be rearranged? I don't know. There's lots of issues with music and legality. We would love to say we could do whatever. You know, there shouldn't be any of this hassle, but there is. And as Bond said in his little chat the other week, that we would love to redo some of the old songs and come back and do them again. It's time, and if we can do it, we will do it. Yeah, for sure.
I have a question actually not related to that, but back to where we were talking about the early shows. So where was the first show and what memories do you guys have from the very first Nitzer Ebb show?
First Nitzer Ebb show, I think it was the YMCA. Yes,
Yeah, the first one. I think there was that one in the Prince of Orange garden. I think that was that after.
I can remember the Prince of Orange Garden, the YMCA being the big one,
Yeah, yeah,
as like we felt like we'd got somewhere.
yeah.
We were on a stage and an audience.
Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, that again in Chelmsford, just local. There's a local YMCA that used to put gigs on, and it was mainly for punk gigs. But we were pretty good friends with kind of all the punks in Chelmsford, and they liked what Nitzer were doing. They were good.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't like what we were doing at all. Stuart was just really nice and said, "Yeah, I'll give you a gig." Let's be fair. The first time we played, they wanted to bomb us off the bloody stage.
Oh, the audience hated it. Yeah. But the people were okay. I mean, yeah, true. Yeah, the audience didn't like it because there's no guitars. But it was good.
We were still living in an age of if you didn't have a guitar, then you weren't a real band. You know, that's kind of the way people's minds worked. You were using electronic instruments. Well, what's that? It's fake. It's false. It's not real. You're not playing it, or however they perceived it at the time, you know.
So what would you say was the first gig you were part of that you just felt like, okay, we really had a great gig?
YMCA, definitely the YMCA.
Okay.
It was for me the first show. Douglas was too young to even be in there. He's 15 years old. Shouldn't even legally have been in there, you know.
Wow.
Because we had the band, we could sneak him in, so we did. And I went to play our first show and didn't really look back from there after that. And it was a bit of a disaster sound-wise that night, as it would be for your first show. But we didn't look back. We kind of went, okay, you know, how do we get over whatever went wrong this evening, and we'll do it again next time and do it better.
Also, I just had a thought, Rob. Maybe we should change our drinking word to show.
Well, I'll drink to either word. Actually, it's fine with me.
Show all day long.
All right, let's do it.
Show is a good one.
Show all day long.
Show is a very good one, especially because I love Showtime.
Same.
We drank out there.
I'll drink to that.
I have a question.
Oh, go on.
In that video, Bon is banging on a pipe to make that ding, ding. Is that the sound from that, or is that just... It is?
Yeah.
No, a long time. Nitzer Ebb used metal. I mean, it was literally real metal on all the early tracks, and there was an unofficial member of the band called John, who was a waste bin.
Douglas's father made the waste bin, didn't he? If I remember rightly.
Yeah. And so that used to go to all the gigs. John the bin was like an extra drum. So John was actually part of the band. And
extra member.
Yeah. And there's, I think it's the early Spanish shows where there were sheets of metal as well, like these 4-foot square sheets of metal that were percussion. Yeah. And they had to go on flights. It was times it got lost.
It was bigger than 4 feet. We had a sheet of metal that was like 6 by 6. And we decided it would be a great idea to take it with us because it's part of the show. We didn't really have any thought or had ever been on a plane or tried to ship or carry anything. And you turn up with this 6 by 6 sheet of aluminium and they're like, what the fuck do you want to do with this? It's like, well, it's an instrument. We want to take it to Spain. We play it, you know. Total confusion. It did turn up, I've got to say. But only once did we take a 6 by 6 sheet of steel with us. That was enough.
Yeah, I remember British Airways lost one and it turned up about a year later or something, didn't it?
Yeah, there was. You get good at hiding things in boxes and how to get things there that you don't normally have. But yeah they did.
The metal was pretty difficult to hide, as you can easily imagine. Yeah, so that metal was all real. And we sampled the sound that you heard on Strong was sampled directly off the metal.
That's nice because it's such a clean sound. I couldn't tell if it was actually the metal.
No, it was.
If I remember rightly, I think Phil being Phil, he would have probably sampled it. We would have wanted to play it live. A lot of the stuff we played live originally when we recorded the original album, we did Total Age. Everything was recorded live in the studio. But samplers had just come into play. Phil would want to keep it all perfectly in time. So most things end up getting sampled and reused somehow.
Yeah. I mean, the original Joining the Chant that's on Total Age has got outside the studio we were in, there was some people using these machines on the road, flatten the road. They're actually called whackers, which is amusing in itself, but there's something that flattens the road down like the tarmac. and these builders were using them out in the road. So we just got this massive extension lead for the microphone and just went out and sampled these builders' whackers, as it were.
Yeah, you like a builder's whacker, don't you?
Pay good money for that, definitely. But yeah, so that was how, you know, some of those sounds were got just on the fly sort of thing. We just heard the noise and went out and sampled it.
Where was that? Where was that studio, Simon? That was a funny little studio.
It was Greenhouse, wasn't it?
Was it Greenhouse?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe. I can't remember. There was two we used at the time, but yeah, probably was. Yeah, it was Greenhouse. You're right. I'm thinking back. Islington, Greenhouse. You're right.
My next question is coming from Mark Jones. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Here we go again. I've got to try and find the right button to press, and you're gonna. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, Simon. Hi, David. How you doing, guys? All right.
How you doing?
Yeah, very well.
Just a quick question. I mean, I remember back in the clubs, back in the day, late 80s, listening to your music, and the sound was so much different to what was going on at the time. And we used to go to the industrial clubs. Where did you get your influences for that sound?
We never denied the DAF, you know, inspired us profusely. But I think the influences came from everywhere. I mean, we were all big fans of funk, disco, reggae, punk rock. Our influence is so vast, and you're kind of trying to put a little piece of everything in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's that kind of industrial sound, you know, the bass. I mean, it was always the bass, the synth that always got me. The way it was so kind of there at the time, but there was nothing else really going on of your sound back in those kind of late 80s, 90s.
Well, then maybe we just put our hands up and say we did something new. That was, I think, a challenge, but something we wanted to do. There's certain sounds we knew we'd heard, but we wanted it to be something else. I don't know. We just did what we did. It's kind of, there's no real ethos to it. It's what felt right and felt good, and that's how we did it.
I think a lot of bands at the time as well were kind of becoming more complex again. Like after punk, you've got post-punk, and there's a lot of bands spending a lot of time in the studio making stuff with layers of sound and more sounds. And we were just trying to, I think Bon and Doug, certainly their kind of ethic was want to keep it simple as possible. So I think that might be one of the reasons it kind of stood out more is that there's so little on there, like you mentioned.
As the beauty of music is simplicity is all. The least you have, the better it will be. I think we've always agreed, me and Simon do, especially when we do our Start project, you know, if there's too much, you don't hear it. It gets overwhelmed. So less is more is always the great one.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. If it's okay, I actually wanted to touch on one interesting thing, and that is Simon and his artwork and how that had a huge impact on the look and the feel of Nitzer Ebb. Like, we all have Nitzer Ebb t-shirts and vinyl records and all that, and I'd like to ask about how all those icons and things came about way back in the early day.
Good, I can have a toilet break while he talks.
Okay, yeah. Also, I think we have a drink. Yeah. Mark just showed showtime, so.
Oh, there you go.
Oops.
I'll drink to that.
Showtime.
Okay.
Ja, maar dan zien ze me niet. Oké, peeps. I lost the code word. I logged in later.
There's two.
It's
Yuri.
show. It's show.
Alarm and show.
We changed alarm or show, yeah.
Oh, so I need two of those.
You got to be double-fisted, yeah, sure.
That beer or wine or beer, does it matter?
All is good.
You could do all.
Beer.
You can
Okay.
pour one into the other if you like.
Okay, cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Happy New Year.
Cheers. Happy New Year. Yes, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes, Happy New Year, everyone.
So yes, please do tell about, especially start off by telling us about the early days of design and what that was like early in the 80s, how you were doing all that.
Basically, the art, my first job, I was working in a drawing office as a draftsman. So I was literally working on a drawing board, drawing kind of electrical circuit boards and pieces of radar and that kind of thing. And obviously I was interested in creating graphics for the band. So what I actually did, I used to stay late at work and use the stuff at work. So all the early images that you see for Total Age, Star, the Cog and Hammer, they're all hand drawn using a plastic film called Melanex. You draw on the plastic film and then you go around it with a rotoring pen. Rotoring pens are just an ink pen basically, but a really expensive ink pen. They're about £40 each then. And then I literally filled it in, just coloured in the black shapes, if you like. I just coloured them in with ink. And then they were shot on what we call a process camera, which is a camera for producing magazine artwork. So literally all those symbols, I've still got the original drawings at home, just of the construction of the cog and the hammer and the star. And obviously a big influence art-wise was constructivism, Russian constructivism. And to actually get books on constructivism, obviously they're quite expensive and things. So I used to go into a local bookshop. I probably mentioned this on one of the previous chats we had, that I used to go into the local bookshop armed with a scalpel and I'd browse a book and then discreetly remove a page with the scalpel so I could take it to photograph it. And in a parallel operation, Doug was stealing books from his school. So we were very influenced by Dada as well. So Dada and constructivism was probably the biggest art influence. So yeah, Doug's still got books with like Sandon School Library.
Sandon School Library of them that he pilfered and never gave back. Yeah, they're probably still flying about.
£1,000 now. So, yeah, the early artwork was literally hand drawn.
I'm going to interject here slightly because at one time Simon did something, and he's talking about hand drawing something. What I'm going to show you is not hand drawn, obviously. It's been reprinted, but he drew this. If you can see it, you see the little eagle. When he first did that, we had a little cassette sleeve, and it's all drawn by hand with these pens. And I remember him coming out with it, and I just sat there in awe and amazement of what he'd managed to do. And he won't say it's amazing, but it was bloody amazing at the time. Very few people were that talented to do that, and be willing to share it with everybody.
Well, Bon actually said to me he just showed me something out of 2000 AD comic. Because we were fans of 2000 AD, and he goes, "I want something a bit like this," and it was a kind of an eagle, and so. Yeah,
didn't they end up in 2000 AD at some point? They had a little.
Yeah, there's a strip. There's Nitzer Ebb in 2000 AD as a comic strip called Bradley, doing a live show actually. So, yeah. So
show.
That is the word show. If anyone wants to raise a drink,
have a little. Yeah, show.
Cheers.
Yeah, so 2000 AD Bradley story. It's a Nitzer Ebb comic strip.
I have a quick design question, and I can't figure out how to raise my hand on this. And being a co-host, I can't raise my hand. Simon, how big are those original like star and cog and stuff?
Okay, they're actually pretty small because they were on A4 Melanex, so each symbol's probably only about the maximum of 20 centimeters, not even that, probably 100 millimeters, like 10 centimeters. And then I put them on the process camera, which is this system of turning that ink on paper artwork into a kind of photographic print. And then I could enlarge them on there or scale them up and down to get them the right size for the sleeve. And the lettering for the sleeve was done with Letraset, which was the early rub down lettering. And that was used right into Belief.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of times folks will do like bigger ones, so when you shrink them down, you don't see the imperfections and stuff. And so it's interesting to hear that they're smaller, and then if you needed it bigger, because then you really would see kind of the drawn aspect of it.
But I did a similar process for the sleeve of Let Your Body Learn. The original Let Your Body Learn was drawn with all those symbols, and when you look at that pattern of the symbols, that each one of those was literally traced and drawn at 1-to-1 scale. So I was just using the same template, moving the symbol a bit and then redrawing it. And that took a while to do that one. And then after that, I thought, no, I need to make this a bit easier to do. So I think that's why Total Age only had 3 symbols on it, whereas Let Your Body Learn's got like, I don't know, about 70 or something. So.
That's fun.
I heard a little bit about this when we had the last drink in chat, and I thought it was really amusing. But why black and orange when it came?
Yeah. That was because Nitzer Ebb at the time, and there was a whole scene kind of building up around Nitzer Ebb and other bands that were similar, that got called kind of in the UK, it was always called gothic or dark, you know, or alternative, I don't know, alternative rock or whatever it came up with. But the main one in all the sort of papers was goth. So I was thinking, well, what's the most, if you're a goth and you're going to wear all black and you're going to be into Susie and the Banshees and The Cure and Depeche Mode, what's the most offensive colour you could probably imagine having to have? So I thought fluorescent orange, and not just orange, but fluorescent orange. So we actually researched like this Pantone fluorescent, which go through the press twice. I had to go down with Daniel Miller. We went down to Kent where we saw the things coming off the press, and I was saying, "No, it's not bright enough. We need to run it again." So we literally had solid black with fluorescent orange, and it was just that contrast. It's literally to make the contrast, and that kind of packaging influence was influenced by Ilford Films. I mentioned that on the last chat. There's a analog film company called Ilford in the UK that happens to use Futura Extra Bold, which is the font on Showtime as well. Which Showtime?
Showtime, go on, go again. I'm drinking all the time.
Show, isn't it? Yeah. So that was the prime reason was to kind of annoy, stroke, alienate, agitate, or whatever. Just anyone who's into like kind of goth and dark wave, just to have something bright orange.
I'll interject again here, Si, because there was a big influence that most people will probably never see or understand, is that we got labelled with all these things and put in all these pigeonholes, which we all hate. I hate being pigeonholed. I hate this whole genreization of things. It is what it is. So Simon, being him, would always be anti anything that people were trying to pigeonhole us with. So it was always trying to find a way not to be pigeonholed. Even to the point the whole industrial thing, we got pigeonholed in that, in a way. Personally, I don't think any of us ever really considered it to be that. It's just what it ended up as.
Yeah, it's just a label. I mean, it was never really that. I think if you spoke to members of the band, that influences are so diverse, it can never be one thing. But I think because of the way the music was delivered and the sort of the attitude and look and feel that went with it, it was always sort of termed as being aggressive and alternative and all that sort of thing. So we're completely happy with all those terms. It's just when something becomes an actual kind of bracket or an actual category that you're supposed to fit into, you immediately kind of react against it, I think, because you have to. Otherwise, you start becoming what that category is. You know, you'll just go around in circles. So yeah, we wanted to kind of get away from that, and it was done to be amusing as well. If you look at some of the early artwork, there's all kind of play on words in a lot of the things on there. It's like we credited Depeche Miller and Daniel Mode, and people ask, is that a mistake? It's of course it's not a mistake. It's just it's a joke, you know. But there's a lot.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Tozer, it's your shout.
I just have to say that you made my parents really happy indirectly, because when that came out, I asked for orange clothes because I used to always wear black. And I was 11, 12 years old. And I'm like, I want that orange sweatshirt. I want that orange tracksuit. So everything was black and orange.
Wow.
For several years. So thank you. They hated that I used to just wear black.
See you big pansy. You did get it across.
It didn't sway me whatsoever. I went to Orange High School, and I was mad I had to graduate and wear an orange gown and cap for graduation.
That's a different story.
That was a couple of years before this, but I never switched to orange once Showtime came out. Although I do have the cap with the NE logo and the shirt from Showtime too, from the tour.
You're a Duck fan, though.
I know, and I hate that I have to wear orange for the Ducks too, but
it definitely works better with black. I mean,
for sure.
great on its own, but it needs something to offset it. And years ago, I went for an interview with this company called 3A, which is Three Associates, which is actually Pet Shop Boys' design company. And that was run by a man called Mark Farrow. And the Three Associates were Chris Lowe, Neil Tennant, and Mark Farrow, and they're a design company. And I went to see Mark because I heard that he worked in London and I wanted to try and get a design job. And I mentioned, he said, what kind of stuff have you done? And I said, I've done, some sleeves for Nitzer Ebb. And he opened the drawer of this bottom drawer of his cabinet and he pulled out Showtime and he goes, this is one of my favourite colours.
Actually, Si, to be fair, what he said was, this is our ethos. This is what we follow. We saw this and this is what we want to do.
Very cool.
Yeah, he's a humble man. He never bigs himself up, and he should big himself up more often.
The orange is definitely much better than the green. I will give you that.
You don't like the green?
The green is a little too bright, but
that's an unofficial release. I don't know what that was.
That was the USA version, I think. So
yeah.
So you didn't have anything to do with that, right?
No.
See, the orange, he did the right thing. He didn't have anything to do with the green. I could actually go grab the CDs and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
I think the only time I use green, red, and yellow on Ascend when we were doing the kind of Gilbert and George influence sort of stuff. When you had the yellow sleeve with the grid on it, that's the only time I've used green.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, the Lightning Man. I think for the single, I think they just chose a different color to offset. And they tried to make it as bright a neon color as they could since the orange was so bright. So
you used up all the orange in the UK. There was none left.
Do you know what? Do you know what the problem always is, and it never changes, is that once it's taken out of your hands or our hands, let's say, then someone will do something we didn't like, but you have no option in that. That's the music game. You don't have control of it. Somebody else will do what they believe is better or looks nicer.
Yeah, we've been guilty in America of putting "But Not Tonight" as the single instead of "Stripped." So
you're forever bitter about that.
I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm not as offended as some people because I like both songs, but "Stripped" is by far the superior song. There's no question.
You know what, Rob? I was just about to say exactly the same thing.
It's pure blasphemy.
It is. It's terrible.
Speaking of Depeche Mode, what kind of interactions have you guys had with the band? Like, were your earliest interactions or anything?
My personal one's a bit strange because I saw them really early on at a local club called Crocs. I think I was probably 15, 16 years old. And I wasn't a great fan of it, to be honest. At the time I liked them and I got what they were doing. But very early, but I suppose there's always that relationship that we all come from Essex. That's always been a solid thing. If you grow up in this county, you end up a certain way, especially the age we grew up in. In the 80s, there was a lot of suppression. You were pushed down. And I kind of loved the way they fought back and they did what they wanted to do.
Yeah, and that, funny enough, that was actually Depeche's first show. Let's use the word show again. That was the
show.
The Pink Toothbrush gig that we saw, which is their very first show.
Was it not Crocs then? Was it Crocs still?
It was Crocs actually. Yeah, sorry, it was Crocs.
With the really bad alligators that were covered in smoke stains in the tank.
Yeah. So I mean, my involvement with Depeche Mode is very minimal. I don't really know. I know Martin a little bit. I bumped into him at a couple of mute events, and we got chatting because I'm really into. I really like audio, like hi-fi stuff, and we used to talk about audio. And whenever I bump into him at mute or anything, we just talk about hi-fi stuff. If ever I saw him at any kind of event or show, for example, I just literally just sort of bump. We just talk audio stuff. I don't really know the others. David knows them more than me.
I'm going to move on to a question from Jeff Ford in Albany, Oregon.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Hey, if you guys were to cover a Depeche Mode song, would their song Rush might be in consideration?
Oh, I don't know. Covering a Depeche Mode song.
That's one for Bon. Really?
I'll be honest, wouldn't know what we'd cover. I mean, most of my favourite Depeche Mode songs are actually remixes. Here we are on a Depeche Mode website, and I favour the remixes to the originals. But don't know. That's a hard question.
Yeah,
I always have to ask that question for some reason. It's just my
It's
thing.
his favorite song ever, and he asks all the guests, even if they're not musicians.
I think for me, if I was going to remix something, it'd be Personal Jesus. Just because I like the lyrics, it makes a lot of sense. It reminds me of a lot of things of when I was growing up. The way we were educated is a big thing of Christian education when we were schooled. So there's a lot of things Dave said in that song that make a lot of sense when I listen to it personally. That would be one I'd enjoy, I think, to have a little go at.
It's got some really cool sounds in it to play with as well.
Yeah, that always works.
Speaking of sounds, maybe we should get one of the performances going.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to do Stark stuff? You need to mute me out so that I can change all this garbage over in here.
Yeah, Mike, you got that?
Yeah, Mike, could you handle? Okay. While David's getting his equipment sorted, Simon, would you like to talk about Stark a little bit?
Yeah, okay. Stark is a musical project that me and David started probably in about 2013, 2014. David used to phone me up drunk on a Saturday. This theme is actually ongoing because he used to shout at me a long time ago, years before. And then he started shouting at me down the phone saying, I want you to get involved with this music I'm doing. Because Douglas had bought David this software, bought Reason, like the first version of Reason for Dave. And Dave was learning Reason and then shouting down the phone at me saying, listen to this track, and then holding it up against the telephone. And I kind of ignored it for ages until me and Dave were going to one of Doug's weddings. And he was playing this track in the car. And I said, wow, what's this? And I said, this is really good. And he goes, it's me. I went, no, it isn't. No, I said, what is it? I said, if I'd heard this, I'd buy it. And he goes, no, it's me, honestly. So after that, I said, right, okay, I will get involved. And we started just literally what we do. I mean, Stark is just every Saturday, basically. If you imagine it, having a band, but every Saturday you literally do 3 or 4 hours and then have a couple of beers and go out and have a pizza or something, or an Indian. And that's what Stark kind of is. And that's the way it evolved. So it evolved us meeting up every week. And then we kind of, first of all, it was kind of software based. And we thought, oh, it'd be good to get some actual hardware. And for Dave's birthday, he said, don't buy me anything. So I bought him a Moog Minotaur. And we started with the Moog Minotaur, and then we, as kind of hardware, and then we just started buying virtually every sequencer that you could think of. Which was, I mean, it was kind of not expensive gear. We tried Arturia, which I don't know if anyone here has used Arturia stuff. It breaks pretty easy. It's not that reliable. So we then started going to Waldorf, and the Waldorf Rocket was a really good synthesizer. We just kind of based a little musical setup around kind of some hardware synths and the Apple computer running Reason initially. Well, sorry, the PC running Reason.
Thanks, Simon. David, are you ready?
By the way, those sound like amazing Saturdays.
I know.
Fun.
Working on music for 3 or 4 hours and pizza and beer. It doesn't get much better than that, right there.
Can we come?
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay,
David it looks like he's ready. So
It looks
Mike,
like he's
you can
ready, yeah.
unmute.
I think he's ready.
Everyone else we can mute.
Yes,
Yeah.
let's mute everybody.
Yeah, that was
Nice
awesome.
job. Very nice. Very well.
That was awesome.
Good job.
Very strange from my end, I got to admit.
Can I ask a question? And then, sorry, I'm being hoggy.
for it.
And then
Go.
I'll open up for others. I know some have their hands up. What is that sample of that? What's that guy saying, and where'd you get that?
Where did I get that? Oh, well, I go hunting a lot. I search a lot of things. So I'll go trawling through anything that has speech, all sorts of wording, anything that makes sense, anything that's not political and will cause me problems because people always attach themselves to anything you do. I just go hunting and find stuff, and if it sounds cool, then I'll use it, basically. And I tend to distort it and turn it into how I want it to sound, and that's what I do.
That sounded awesome. I'm gonna open up to questions.
One quick
again.
reminder, real
Oh,
quick, sure. For all those who join late, just a reminder: when you're not speaking, if you could mute yourselves, just so we could keep it quiet and easier for everyone to hear.
Mr. H is in the building.
Oh, nice.
Hi, Bon.
Hello,
Hey.
Bon.
Hi, Bon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, we
Bon.
Oh yeah.
Bon, there's 2 drinking words for today: alarm and show.
All right.
Yeah, so good of you to show up.
Yeah, show up.
That's perfect use right there.
Yay!
Perfect.
Nobby showed up.
Enough already. I can't keep up.
I just want to clarify something real quick. There's before anyone goes after me, there's Sprite. There's a Sprite in this cup.
Don't be so boring. Have a bloody drink.
He's 16 in America, so.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. No, don't have a drink. We started way too early.
Yeah, when I was 16, I would never do something like that, so we won't talk about that. But
No, really, really.
All right, I'm gonna open up to questions. I might have. If you guys had a question earlier and we talked about it, message me again because the drink is getting to me. Larry, let's go with your question first, please.
All right, so I want to ask like a question about some sound effects. So, in the beginning of Lightning Man, where it goes dun 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 dun, was that recorded on the Yamaha CS50?
Right, now you're asking us questions about a time when we weren't in the band.
Bon's your man. For that
Bon's
one.
your man. It's like he's there. Unmute yourself, Nobby, and let yourself in, son.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
It's Roland System 700M. Floods Roland System 700M.
Oh. Has anyone ever seen like the CS50 before? Because this thing is huge.
no, I have not.
Yeah, I've seen a CS50.
Yes, 50. Yeah.
This thing has some horsepower to it.
Is that a virtual version?
No, I think it came out in like 1983.
Oh, the original, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a big synthesizer.
They were very expensive synthesizers as well. So it's CS50, I think. I mean, again, Bon would probably have some input on that.
So
I just want to ask Nadia a question. Were you calling my name earlier? Because I could have sworn I heard you calling my name.
I was asking how old you are because you can't drink.
I'm 16.
Okay. In France, it would be okay.
Yeah, we're kind of different here in America, and I don't know that I don't necessarily agree with that for sure, because I think you should be able to drink earlier. But
Sorry, I'll interject. It's a really good idea. You have a lot of guns.
maybe that's true, but
That's a good shout.
as
Guns
long as you
and
don't have the
alcohol.
combination of drinking and guns, then you're okay.
Yeah, but you're gonna get it, aren't you?
Not necessarily. Not everyone's for guns, so you know.
No. I'm with you. Don't get me wrong. I had guns. I grew up in the countryside. We had guns. We used to need guns for food.
I'll take beer over guns every day of the week.
Absolutely.
What is the legal drinking age here in America? I don't remember.
21.
Oh, 21.
Yeah, you can go fight for your country and die at 18, but you can't drink.
So you're 21. What about cigarettes? Is that also? I think cigarettes.
It
is
was
18.
18. I think they moved it up to 21.
I've already offered it to a man, Marcy, and they walked away.
But it's based on states too. So the drinking age and all that is also based on the state, I believe.
How do you have fun?
Good, because cigarettes are horrible. They smell gross.
We've gotten
Sorry.
way off topipic here, so to switch it back to the topic, actually,
Yeah, sorry
David.
about that. I smoke so much, it's
No,
crazy, so-
it's all good. So, if you could let everyone know too the time period that you were in the band. So,
Okay, so God, I don't know. We started. I think me and Bon started the band. It was probably about 81 before Douglas got involved. We had this hideous name called La Comédie de la Mort, if I remember rightly. And we messed around with a couple of synthesizers and did this and that and tried very hard. But then a couple of years passed, I think, and then we ended up with Doug sort of get Doug to sing. So we got Doug in to sing, and it kind of rolled from there. So I'd go with about 1981, 82. Nitzer Ebb, original Nitzer Ebb as a band, I think would have been 82, 83.
family iPad, if you can mute yourself, for some reason we can't mute you. Sorry about that.
It's not working for me either.
Yeah, I was trying to, but yeah. So sorry about the background noise there.
No worries.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question from Mike Smith, please.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, Matt.
What's
I was reading something else. I'm so sorry.
Alcohol's kicking in.
I know.
I like Mike though. Mike's alright.
I should have been having tea. Sorry, you guys.
No, where are you all living at the minute? Where have you all ended up?
So I'm still in Chelmsford. I've moved around, over the years, but I moved back probably 10, 12 years ago, and I've kind of stayed put. I like my hometown now, city. Simon is still in Chelmsford, but obviously at the moment he's in Berlin with the beautiful Nadia. So that's where he's at. Bon and Doug are in LA. It's where they eventually based themselves completely. So that's where they're at. We all hook up as much and as often as we can. Obviously with this last year, it's been pretty much bloody impossible. But yeah, we're based all over.
I'm having to.
I've got this. It's cool. Okay. Sorry, I apologize. I was trying to queue up. I wanted to share the Stark because we were talking about the little pizzas and beers kind of thing and the Saturday performances. So we have a clip that I'm going to play like half of the clip for you, for everyone to see, kind of one of these Saturday performances they were talking about. So we're going to do that right now.
Wow, I don't know. Which one's going to be?
Super cool, super cool. And it's funny because it sounds amazing to get to have the pizza and beer and an afternoon of doing that. And then I was thinking about it, I'm like, wait, we've got an afternoon on a Saturday right now where we're getting that music from you right now, and we have the beer. We're just missing the pizza. So thank you for this. I appreciate it.
What
Show.
song was that?
There isn't really a song. It's just a jam. Probably something we'd written. I have many melodies and different parts written here, and certain stuff. At that time, it was using a laptop a lot, not total hardware system. So you kind of just make it up and jam as you go along.
Yeah, we just made that up on the fly because Bond had come round that day, and we just literally wrote it there and then. But we put it on SoundCloud. I think we called it Lightning Storm when it was on SoundCloud. I'm not sure.
That's a good jam.
Well, it's a jam. It's Bon on an iPad and a couple of controllers, and that's kind of how he flows because he's pretty bloody talented.
Yeah, it's
wobbling about he is at the moment.
Which area is the best where you guys meet up to do this? Do you guys go to different locations, or is it?
It's around David's. That was round David's apartment.
Oh, cool.
It generally is. I kind of have a studio set up here and have had for the last 10 years since I bought the apartment. And obviously, my poor neighbours have to suffer sometimes. But it tends to be a Saturday because we can make all the noise we want and no one really moans too much. If we want to do something properly, as in when we rehearse for the Ebb, then obviously we go and find a rehearsal studios and set it up properly.
Analog gear, everyone always talks about how much warmer and fuller everything it sounds. And I have to say, when I hear stuff like this, it makes me not want to use digital software stuff as much as...
Dump your digital. Dump the digital all day long. Just find yourself a good recording system and go with what makes you feel right. If it feels good, it's right. It warts and all. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. It's not meant, synthesis, electronic music's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be a feeling.
That's true. Very true.
Rob, you're going to have to get some advice for when you go shopping now.
Honestly, that jam reminds me a lot of Daft Punk.
Yeah, okay. I could live with that. I mean, that was kind of... That was essentially... I mean, David was obviously doing all the beats and the rhythms and that bass was coming from the move.
It sounds like early 90s Daft Punk.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
somewhere around the ages of like Homework or Discovery.
Yeah. Revolution.
I've got a question coming from Yuri. Hi, Yuri.
Hi, Yuri.
Hi, Yuri.
I have to mute myself.
Yeah.
You said that? Okay. Do you say that was brilliant? That was brilliant.
I've been practicing.
Hi, guys. Just for the record, the last concert I went to was Nitzer Ebb in Sint-Niklaas in Belgium. So that was at the end of 2019, I think, somewhere. But there were a lot of familiar faces for you over there. I remember Dirk from Dive being there. Now, going back to the early days in the 80s, were you aware of bands that were like Front 242, Dick Groups, obviously? And what were your experiences? I remember David saying a few, 20 minutes ago, being pigeonholed. And I remember Richard Fantrois saying the same thing, being pigeonholed in the 80s as well, being like far right or something. How was that?
Yeah, we had a lot of that, but there was always a lot of humour in Nitzer Ebb, and I think people kind of missed the humour side of it and only see what they wanted to see. So I think it's quite easy for people to make an assumption. But going back, like you say, regarding the music, Front 242, I mean, when I first heard Funkadelic, I went up to Rough Trade in West London, where there was only a Rough Trade in West London then. It took me all day to get there. I just went there to get that first album, just to get, Commando Mix and Funkadelic were such inspirational tracks to me. I mean, I still love them today. I mean, I didn't really like the later front 242s so much because they kind of, to me, they kind of, I don't know, they lost whatever they had at the start, but that first album's superb. And I think, again, yeah, they got pigeonholed with.
I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them in a while. I remember my last Front 242 gig being early '90s.
Right.
Personally, one of the things I remember really strongly, and it was really good fun, in the early days, and we were playing, I think, in Brussels.
Oh,
We played
yeah,
this
yeah.
strange little club with a stage that had a see-through floor. We were really high up, and Richard and the guys came. I think Richard and a couple of guys came to see us and sort of to see what we were doing, and that was cool because it's an alignment. You're not being pigeonholed. That's somebody that's actually doing what you're doing. And that felt quite nice. It wasn't a pigeonhole. It was like, God, we've got somebody else that is doing a similar thing, has the same feeling, and wants to, I don't know, project what we were trying to project.
Mm. I remember Patrick fell over in the restaurant. I remember that.
Yeah, but that was probably us feeding him too much alcohol.
Yeah, and we were all giggling. But yeah, that was good.
Next question is. Oh, I'm sorry, Yuri. Did you want to tack something on?
Show. That's
Show.
all I want to say. Show.
Joe.